Hello everyone, welcome back. My name is Jay Ban, and do we have some news for you today? Looking back through the gaming news as I do every morning, found something of a surprising headline today, namely that Microsoft have abandoned all plans for VR on their console. According to a report from Verge, development into VR has been totally axed. Their chief marketing officer, Mike Nichols, goes as far as to say that PC seems to be the best outlet for VR. Now, Microsoft issues this gen has been pretty well documented, not least by yours truly, and you'd imagine that Xbox One owners who were holding out for VR will feel pretty let down right about now. When you look at Microsoft's big rivals right now, PlayStation, the PS4 currently supports VR as well as having a much stronger library of exclusives. It does start to look pretty bleak for the Xbox One and Bill Gates' Colossus. After all the talk of PlayStation's anti-consumer crossplay antics, looks like Microsoft may have scored a bit of an own goal when the momentum seemed to be supporting them. However, despite all this doom and gloom, it does seem like there may be a very good reason for this, not least the commercial side. And in all honesty, VR to many people is very much still a gimmick. Okay, I know I'm not saying VR is a totally bad idea. I have a PSVR myself and I absolutely love the thing. But if you're anything like me, you'll spend a lot of time on the Facebook market and on Gumtree looking at things you can't quite afford and can't help but notice just how many VR headsets are on there right now. As a matter of fact, my own headset came from there. There is an absolute plethora right now. I'll be showing a few on screen. The overriding description of these always seems to be brand new, hardly used PSVR headset. For me, based on that, it seems like the message is pretty clear. The market is buying into VR and then buying out, selling them on. They don't really have much of a long interest in the hardware. This could all be purely written off as anecdotal, and, well, yeah, it kind of is based on my own evidence. But it's still bizarrely frequent. You look at where this evidence is coming from for me, northeast of England, not exactly Silicon Valley. There aren't going to be a lot of people buying into the latest hardware, so to see so many second-hand sold straight away would be quite alarming. I mean, straight on the face of it, PSVR hasn't quite sold gangbusters, and recently, the UK, possibly worldwide, the PlayStation has decided to cut the price of VR, which tells you that they've not been getting the demand that they've been expecting. So it seems straight away there's been a very high proportion of these bought and then put away or sold back, second-hand returned. It's kind of like a toasty maker with head tracking at the moment. Why is this though? I bought mine, again, second-hand by the way, just a few months back and have got plenty of use from the thing. I played Resident Evil 7, VR Worlds, even watched the World Cup with it and felt very satisfied with the purchase. So why is everyone not finding use for it? Well, for me, it's quite clear. I, as a full-time chisel-jawed Uber gamer, know all the things available for it. Now that might sound very gatekeepery, as if I'm advertising the gamer master race as it were, but let me explain. I, as a more involved gamer, know there's a lot to choose from in VR. Like Here They Lie, The Inpatient, Don't Stop Talking and Nobody Explodes, so I feel quite well catered for when it comes time to enter virtual reality. But the core or casual gamer, who this is really supposed to be marketed toward, hasn't really heard of those titles. They don't get the marketing budget of the big players like the aforementioned Resident Evil. Most made-for-purpose VR games are from the indie side of things, and can only market their games in quite a restricted manner. It would seem therefore that these VR titles are destined only for indie appeal, and when you consider that two of the ones I just mentioned are in the horror niche, the target market gets even slimmer. I believe VR is lacking its system seller, for lack of a better word, a game that's worth getting purely on VR alone rather than an indie title or a later port. So, based on that, seems like VR is a bit of a gimmick, but for me, an incredibly exclusive gimmick. A PSVR headset is about £200 and not many people have that much money to throw around on something they don't think they're going to get much use out of. There are of course big Bethesda titles that have VR support, including Doom, VFR and Skyrim, But these spin-off titles are direct parts of games that have released for some time now. Skyrim's been out for a very long time now. People have multiple copies of it as it stands, with the previous gen and current gen versions released, and something tells me that they wouldn't be too keen to fork out another 40 odd quid for a VR version of a game they already own. So when you ring back to Xbox and have a little look as to why they're not going through with VR, it doesn't make too much commercial sense, as the market may not be there in the first place. It's clear the casual market aren't falling in love with the thing, and anyone serious about virtual reality will have either bought a PSVR ages ago or will have opted for the stronger PC-compatible offerings. That isn't to say that VR is dead, or even it's not doing well. Frankly, from Microsoft's point of view, I think any consolidation's a clever move. This generation continues to be a total write-off for them. It does seem to suggest a lack of faith in the market for console VR, and that will not have gone unnoticed by the big publishers. We've already mentioned Bethesda, and they seem like the only big player making consistent AAA releases for the thing, and that's only due to Todd Howard's desire to port Skyrim onto every home appliance. Xbox backtracking from VR cuts any potential VR market in two for a publisher looking at the idea of funding a VR title, and the move itself demonstrates a lack of confidence from a platform holder, which is a total red flag. As a result, we'll probably only continue to see VR games from the indie scene or late parts of tried and tested games, which, if you were paying attention earlier, is exactly the reason VR isn't taking off as is. I may sound like I'm calling doom and gloom on something that I genuinely enjoy, but that's the thing. I enjoy VR so much, I want to see it expand, I want to see it evolve. I believe it's the next step in immersive gameplay, but if reports from Microsoft are true, we may have to wait a while before we get our fabled holodeck. So that's my take on Microsoft's decision to turn away from VR. Obviously, I'm a little concerned about the virtual reality market as a whole, but I'd be interested to see what you people think about it. Whether you think this is just another Microsoft misstep, or if this spells the end of home console virtual reality as we know it. I'd be interested to see your opinions. Please leave comments. As always, like and subscribe if you want to see more of my content, and thank you for watching.